Straight ahead, he's dragged opposing defenses en route to a pair of Lombardi trophies, but for some reason, Big Ben didn't register on David Carr's top 10 play caller list. Of course, DC, he's going to tell us why. And 5 wins a season ago wasn't how the Bucs drew up 2017, and in 2018, they hadn't planned on being without their team leader for the first 3. An update on what lies ahead for Jameis Winston. And it's summer blockbuster season. Final destination unknown, but Mr. Bryant hoping for a match made in heaven, or let's say a destination wedding. Will 88 find the perfect marriage? Total Access. Here we go. OBJ looking like a young Sean O'Hara, flexing his batting practice muscle from practice with the pinstripes to being on the stripes with Big Blue. OBJ headed to G-Men camp next month. More on that straight ahead, but first order of business, Ben Roethlisberger.
Ben throws the back shoulder fake. It's caught! Antonio Brown right into his hands. See you later.
Le'Veon shakes him out of his shoes. And then he stiff-armed Drake Kirkpatrick. Great job by Ben putting the ball on the mark. Let his come to play today.
He's superhuman. Down the field. And it's caught. And into the end zone goes Antonio Brown. Incredible.
That's what makes Ben so effective. When you need to dial up a big play, 84 is your guy.
Hey, how's it going? Total Access is on the air. David Carr is here. Sean O'Hara, spelled S-H-A-U-N, not
That's right.
S-E-A-N. We're all here for your viewing enjoyment. Now, guys, everyone, as we know these days, has a list. Favorite artist, best dressed. But if you're our NFL Network resident quarterback, you have a list as well, but it pertains to guys who call plays in the National Football League, right, David?
Yeah, I do have a
Top 10
list.
quarterback
Yeah,
list?
we put it
Okay,
out there.
we'll have you explain in just a second because it's time now to peruse 1 through 10. And, of course, Tom Brady coming in at number 1. Rodgers, Breeze, someone that you are related to, coming at number 4. Phillip Rivers, Matt Ryan, Cam Newton, and Jimmy Garoppolo. Breeze was higher than Rodgers. Aside from that, everything looks to be spot on to everybody but Steeler fans, because no Ben Roethlisberger. So here's a quotation straight from the horse's mouth, or from David Carr, the man himself. Yes, he's a future Hall of Famer, and there's no doubt he can still help the Steelers, but he has the most talented skill players in the league on his unit, and that pair, Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell, makes him look great 14 seasons in. I don't think Big Ben could win a ton of games without them at this stage in his career.
Did you just read a quote
from a guy that's
sitting next to you.
that's right. Yeah, that's one of the best
I
parts.
had to read it to see what I actually said, so refresh my memory.
No Big Ben on that list, David. 2-time Super Bowl champion. The audacity of David Carr to leave him off this list ahead of few people at some other media outlets a little
He's
bit
not the only
fired
one
up.
he left off the list, but go ahead.
It's okay.
So,
Eli Manning is not on the list.
That's your boy, too.
He's won 2 Super Bowls, so I could have easily put Eli on there. But when I look at this list, I have to kind of preface it a little bit. Okay, that's maybe the one mistake that we made here. This list is mine, right? This is my
absolutely.
list, right? So if Sean has a list of people.
Yeah, I have my own list.
Yeah, it's your own list, right? So it's going to be different. Everyone's is going to be different. What I did is said, if I had 10 guys, who would I want? In what order? These 10 guys that I picked, I wouldn't change any of those guys.
Okay.
When I look at the body of work, I look at it as an individual unit, not as who's around them, right? I made the comment about Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown because that goes into why Ben is not on the top 10. Because I think that for the most part, they have all-pro or Pro Bowl players in the majority of their offense in Pittsburgh. If you take Eli Manning or Jared Goff, who I also left off the list, and you throw him in Pittsburgh, I think they'd be a pretty good football team, right? But they're not on the list. No one cared. But because Ben's not on the list, everyone seems to worry about it. So I think that's the biggest thing is I don't think that Ben is in his prime right now. That's the biggest thing. What he did, I was at his first preseason game in Pittsburgh. Actually played against him. He walked on the field. He was a different level. He threw defensive linemen off of him. He made plays outside the X's and O's. Hall of Fame player, absolutely no question. He doesn't do that as much anymore. That's not his strength. So the other guys that are on this list have more ability at this stage of his career. So if I'm going to put guys ahead of him, I'm not gonna take a Matt Ryan or a Cam Newton, even a Jimmy Garoppolo. I think Jimmy Garoppolo, and we'll see some clips later on of what he does outside the pocket, able to flip his hips, the throws that he's able to make. Not saying that Ben's a bad quarterback. That's the other thing. Ben is a phenomenal quarterback. I just think that they're on a phenomenal football team. Pittsburgh has got a great football team. It's not a negative thing. I just think that if I had to pick, Ben wouldn't be in my top 10. It's really that easy.
Well, if I read between the lines, it pretty much leads me to believe that Ben Roethlisberger would not be putting up the same kind of numbers if he didn't have Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell.
I'm just saying,
are you in
also,
agreement with David, Sean?
We didn't mention Carson Wentz, too. So we got to throw Wentz in
Carson
there.
Wentz and
Number 3
Deshaun
on the top
Watson
100.
and Deshaun Watson, for not being on there, they're injured, so I didn't put them on the list. They could easily be top 5 quarterbacks by the end of the year. Okay. I have absolutely no problem with that. I hope they are. You just don't know how their teams are going to use them when they come back, especially Deshaun Watson. We've seen this with Colin Kaepernick. They started to tone it back a little bit once he got hurt, and it was a different player. So how is Deshaun Watson going to come back? I hope he comes back the same way, and I hope Carson Wentz comes back the same way, but Carson might not even start.
Okay, so what do you think? Do you think that AB and Lev Bell, they're carrying a quarterback like Ben Roethlisberger, a guy who's won not one, but 2 Super Bowl championships?
Well, I think Antonio Brown's definitely helping. He's carrying part of the offense. Okay. Le'Veon Bell's carrying another part of the offense. But when I look at the Steelers, you know who's carrying that team is the offensive line. And so, I mean, if you don't want to give credit to Ben or Lev Bell or AB, you give credit to the guys up front. That offensive line has done such a good job over the last few years. They're probably the most consistent O-line that I've watched on film in the last 3 years. Yeah, it helps that they've got that guy in Le'Veon Bell. But keep in mind, he didn't go to training camp last year. He missed time. It took him a while to get that run game going. But when you look at the protection that Ben has had, now the one knock everybody's had on Ben is that he can't stay healthy, holds on to the ball too long, takes too many big hits. Well, in the last 3 years, he's been the least pressured quarterback in the league. The quarterback hits, I mean, they've been 5th best in the last 3 years at quarterback hits. So he's not getting hit as much. It helps with the run game. But, look, I think that the Steelers offense, for as good as they have been up front, for as good as they are with Le'Veon Bell and AB, there's no reason why they shouldn't have been in the Super Bowl the last couple of years, except for a guy named Tom Brady. If it wasn't for Brady and those losses to the Patriots in the playoffs, they would have been representing the AFC. So I would have Ben on my top 10 list. I would have Eli on there, too. So my list would look a little bit different than Dave's. And I would definitely have Carson Wentz on there, too.
Well, to each their own. Everyone has a list for a reason. And Ben, last year, touchdown to interception ratio, 2-1, 28 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. Now we